Okay, guys, welcome back from the break. Next speaker up, last speaker of the day, second day. That's going to be Zack Bauer from Date Hotter Girls. He is new to the 21 convention, but I know his business partner and good friend, best friend, maybe? I'll just put him on the spot on camera.
Best friend,
oops.
easily.
Oh, it's all good. Rob has spoken twice. He spoke here last year in Orlando. He also spoke in London recently. Rob has done an outstanding job, and he very strongly encouraged me to get Zack Bauer on, and now that I've met him, I'm very happy that he's here. From New York, I think one of the best dating coaches in the country, Zack Bauer.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. What's going on, guys? It's good to be here, all the way down in Orlando, huh? All right, so I realize that you guys have been here for a while, because everyone can hear me? Yeah? All right. So it's probably been a long day. So, what I want to do is I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what it is that Rob and I do and why I think that it's a little bit different from a lot of the other stuff that's out there right now and how this can be used to your advantage. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit about where I came from and, how I basically got to where I am now so that, I have the pleasure of speaking at the 21 convention in front of you guys. And, I promise that's not going to get boring. I'm going to keep it short. And finally, I'm going to give you guys what we've found, what Rob and I have found to be, a system that we've developed for ourselves so that we can go out and get very consistent results whenever a girl that we're attracted to is in front of us, and that you guys are going to be able to go out and hopefully use tonight, tomorrow, and every day going forward. So I guess, just to start off, I think the first thing that I want to share with you guys is kind of where I came from. I was just an average guy, nothing special, nothing really wrong with me, nothing really special. But at the same time, I never really questioned my dating life. I never really questioned the girls that I was ending up with. And, I was okay. Once in a while I'd have a girl and, it wasn't really by choice, but, a girl she'd like me and it would kind of work out and, kind of drift along like that. And, this kept going on, and in college, I would see some of my best friends just, hooking up with all the girls that I wanted, and I would end up with their friends or, whatever came along. And, it was really frustrating because I knew that there wasn't much difference between me and my buddies, and just night after night, these guys were getting home the girls that I wanted, and, it was a real pain in the ass. But, that being said, I didn't realize that there was anything wrong. I didn't know that I needed to work on myself. I just figured, this is how it is and this is how it's going to be. I'm going to get what I'm going to get and, might as well just keep going on with my life. Well, that all changed when, I graduated college, moved to New York, and pretty much had no social circle. I had no girls to introduce me to their friends. I had no guys going out to meet friends for me to meet, the friends of their friends. And, I realized, I have a big problem here. Either I'm going to continue going about my life, doing what I know how to do best, which is, just do me, or I'm not going to end up with the girls that I want. I need to do something here. And, at this point, I started going out a lot, and I started, trying to meet up with guys that I saw were getting good results with women. Now, ultimately, this brought me to meet my buddy Rob, who maybe some of you might be familiar with. Rob and I wrote 4 Elements of Game together. And, we started going out. We developed a very, very, very close friendship. We started going out pretty much every day for about 3 years. And, maybe like some of you guys, we studied some of that mystery method. We studied some of the other systems out there. We read a lot of these ebooks. And, we bought into these promises that, there's this magic line that you can say, and you'll just have girls bouncing off your dick, right? And, it's almost embarrassing to say it, but, I swear to God, I believe this, right? I read those books. And, I sat there and I thought, holy shit, this is why I haven't been getting the results that I've wanted my whole life, right? It's something that, I haven't been doing, or I haven't been doing it right. So I guess at this point this was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me. Now, the reason that it's the best thing is because the one thing that I did take from this stuff was that, yeah, I might not be great with women, but there's a whole shitload of guys out there that every day are going out trying to figure out and improve their skills of meeting, dating, getting women attracted, turned on, whatever. So everything else that I took from it, how to open girls, how to get them attracted, all that stuff, I can honestly say, standing on the stage today was absolute bullshit. Like a lot of that stuff actually made it worse. And I went from a place where I could get girls that would come across my way to where girls would come across my way and I would literally repel them. And the reason that this would happen would be because, rather than just be myself, and, I know that that's like one of the biggest cliches ever, and, we'll talk about that and what that really means and, how you guys can actually do this. Because I want to preface this by saying, there's a lot of other stuff out there where it's a lot of philosophy and a lot of feel-good stuff, but it doesn't actually tell you what to do when the girl's standing there in front of you so that she ends up in your bed. That's another problem that we found with a lot of these dating guides and, different systems, was that it was so heavily focused on how to begin interactions and how to get girls giggling and laughing that it never really addressed the issue, which was why I wanted to get in this in the first place, which was, to take girls home and have sex, right? I mean, is there any guy in here who has a different goal than that when it comes to meeting and dating girls? Exactly. Is there anyone in here who cares about how you open, how you build attraction? Does anyone really care about that if it doesn't get you girls? All right. Another question. Has anybody in here spent a lot of time worrying about how to open or how to build attraction? Yeah, I was there too. I spent a whole year wasting my time trying to do that stuff. And like I said, I bought in probably harder than anybody in this room into this myth that there were these guys out there that had this secret, the secret routine stack or, whatever you want to call it. They had these magic lines and these special ways of doing things where they could pretty much go up to a girl who was with her, her husband, her fiance, and steal this girl off this guy's arm and leave with her and, run off into the sunset, right? And, it was that dream, honestly, that really got me to where I am today, because I would meet guys that, maybe you guys have, been on some of the internet forums and it's oh, this guy he's really good. He really knows what he's talking about. Or, oh, you should have seen my friend. He's so good. So, Rob and I were going out and we were spending a lot of time trying to meet these guys, trying to figure out what they were doing, what was working for them so that we could, do it ourselves. I mean, it's pretty simple. So whenever we'd meet up with these guys that were supposedly so good with women, we'd be watching them and maybe like some of you guys, maybe you see some of us dating instructors and you see them and, you hear us talk to you and you think in your head, you have that voice maybe this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about. Or maybe this guy doesn't really get the results that everybody thinks he's getting. And, the fact is that when we started meeting these guys, it was really hard to fight that truth that we were feeling inside, that what these guys are doing does not feel congruent to who I am. And I also don't see it working very well when I meet up with them. I would go out with these guys expecting to be blown away, and these guys would give me excuses about why they couldn't approach, about why it wasn't the right time, about, some kind of social value or they had 1,000 different ways to rationalize it. So, Rob and I realized, this is bullshit. We know guys that are far superior with women that are not in this dating advice community. We went out, we started, hanging out with these guys, putting a lot of focus into, what we were doing and what, they were doing, right? So along the way, we started getting great results, and we started teaching programs. We started getting guys out on live programs, and this is really where Date Hotter Girls got its start. People would go through other programs, and they would realize that they were taught a lot of stuff about how to begin interactions, a lot of stuff how to do these silly handshakes to build what people are calling kino, and all this stuff to escalate, right? But no one was teaching them how to close the deal. Right? No one is going out there and showing guys, if you expect this girl to have sex with you, you can't be doing these things that you've been doing before you ask her to go home with you. What girl is going to want to go home with a guy? I mean, I think Nick was talking about this a bit. What girl is going to go home with a guy that can't shut up and just look at her and hold strong eye contact, right? Now, not to say that I necessarily agree with everything that Nick said, but at the same time, that stuff is pretty on point as far as things that actually are real and have a true effect. And the fact is, now I'm going to take it back and tell you an embarrassing story about, where I was with this a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I was at a bar with Rob. This was maybe 3.5 years ago or so. I was at a bar with Rob. we were just starting to like, get a reputation. And the fact of the matter was, I knew in my heart that I was not that good with women, right? Guys were looking at me and asking me questions and for advice, and I gave it to them. But the fact was, like, I knew that I hadn't had those ridiculous moments that you guys think that I had. Like, I wasn't living those crazy fantasies that I believed that all these pickup instructors were living. And so, I knew in my heart that this just something wasn't right. I was still doing these scripted lines, the whole thing. And, this smoking hot blonde, she walks into the bar, and she's with this huge Jack guy that speaks French. Like, this guy, no homo, he's super good looking. And, he's real charming, and, we all just kind of start talking. So I look at this blonde girl, and I start talking to her, right? I mean, this girl was literally, like, everything you could imagine. She was, like, taller than me even, so she was, like, 6'1", plus she had heels on. She was, like, made up to the nine, like, platinum blonde hair, like, boobs pushed up, up into her face pretty much. And, I got that feeling, like, oh, like, yeah, like, that's that girl. Like, that's the one that, like, I've been doing this for. Like, I can't wait to talk to her, And I had this delusion that all this stuff that I'd been learning until this point was going to somehow get me this hot girl when she was in front of me. So what happens, right? I look at her, I make eye contact, I smile. She looks back at me, she smiles, and I say, hey, what's your name? She tells me her name. And from there, I'm like, oh, yeah, this might be on. Like, I think I have this, right? So what do? I go into the fucking bullshit pickup material that I've been reading on the internet. I tell her about my stripper ex-girlfriend, how she stole my Maserati and picked me up from the airport in a stolen Maserati, and how we got arrested. And, maybe this story sounds familiar. Maybe you guys have read this one on the internet, And the fact is that the second I started saying this, it all fell to shit, right? The girl's looking at me like, you have a stripper ex-girlfriend? And I'm like, no, I swear I really don't, right? Because who wants a guy with a stripper ex-girlfriend that's going to brag about it? Like, that's not what a girl wants. Nick was talking about this a little bit. Like, you have to give girls the experience that they want if you're going to successfully take them from a stranger to back to your room and having sex. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not easy, right? So that's why, you really need to be creating an experience and leading it in a very, very succinct way, and not give yourself, much room to really mess up. And if you do mess up, because the fact is that this happens all the time, and I'll get into this when I start giving you guys exactly what I do every time when, I see a girl that I want. The fact is that, you have to understand that you are going to mess up. There is no perfection. And the difference between what Rob and I came to understand and what everyone else that's out there on the internet and the stuff that you guys have already been reading, the main difference is that, when it comes to this pickup material, I'm sure you guys can relate, right? It's all predicated on giving you the perfect line so that you never mess up, so that you never fuck up, right? So that you always have the perfect thing to say, right? I mean, does this sound right? Yeah? Does it? If not, let me know. But this is what we found. All of this material is predicated on, I'm going to tell you exactly what to say, and it'll work in every situation. Now, the fact of the matter is that that's all wrong. And what Rob and I realized, and when we went from a place where we were having trouble getting girls to a place where girls were, basically suggesting that we go home together, the difference was that we weren't playing to avoid those rejections, okay? This is really important. What we were doing was we were playing for the wins. And the difference between this is that we weren't saying things to girls worried about whether or not it was going to mess up. We were saying things to girls with the hope that it would go well, okay? And that's the foundation of what I'm going to be talking about and the system that I'm going to be giving you guys. The first and most important piece of what it is that we're teaching right now and what it is that we're doing right now is called damage control. Because the fact of the matter is that no matter how good your line is or how good looking you are or how much money you have or whatever, there's going to be friction in an interaction, right? That's just how it is. If there's no friction in an interaction, then you have absolutely no emotional connection with this girl. This interaction is going absolutely nowhere. And the thing that's funny is, maybe many of you guys can relate. If you're already out there, you're already talking to women, it's really easy to do well when the girl's in front of you laughing and, everything's going well, right? Like, how many guys have felt that? It's like, like the girl's with you, it's kind of on, and you kind of know what to do from there, right? But it's the times when, things are going tough, the times when the girl's not necessarily having a great reaction to what it is that you're saying, where you have the opportunity to demonstrate who you are and also take control of the interaction and lead it back to a place that's conducive for you and her ending up in your bed together at the end of the night, okay? So the fact is that when I go to approach a girl, it doesn't matter. I'm not looking for what you guys are probably think I'm looking for, right? I'm not looking to get a positive reaction from her. I'm not looking to get her laughing. The only thing, and this is the first step of what I'm going to give you, which is our F.E.R.A system, which is basically what it is that Rob and I are doing right now. And this was basically what we learned we were doing after watching about 100 or so hours of infield footage of ourselves. We figured out that what we're doing is something very different than what we even thought we were doing 2 years ago. And what we're doing, I'll give you a quick rundown. F.E.R.A stands for focus, emotion, rapport, and arousal. Now, if you notice, there's nothing about opening, there's nothing about attraction, there's nothing about escalating, none of that, okay? And the reason is this, because when I go up to a girl and I'm trying to, build some sort of a dynamic that's going to let me move it towards sex, I'm not trying to open her. I don't want to spend my time opening her. That's a big waste of my time. Who here has a really good opener? Okay, let's hear a good opener.
Here's an opener that got me making out with a girl.
Okay, this does sound like a good opener.
What do you think of guys who wear jean shorts?
Okay. So where does that lead to? Just out of curiosity, just tell me where that's going to lead to.
Basically going to lead to most likely her laughing and saying that guys wearing jean shorts are no.
Okay.
That's what happened in that instance.
Okay. So basically, that's does anyone else have any other openers that they like that they think are good openers?
One I like to use is when I come up and ask an indirect question like, "Hey, where's the nearest pizza shop?" And right when she starts talking, you stop her and say, "Oh, wait, stop. Look, I really didn't come up to ask you where the nearest pizza shop is. I'm Rodney. I just wanted to say hi to you."
Okay.
All
right. So basically, both of those are fine. The thing is, and what we really found when we started going out and getting really, really strong reactions from women is that none of the openers that you've ever read are going to work if she's not looking at you and she's not listening to you, right? Right? I mean, you can walk up to a girl and you could say that to her, but if she's not looking at you, she has her back to you, it's not going anywhere, right? And I know that this sounds obvious, but this goes a lot further. I mean, we have students every single weekend who I see, they walk up to girls and they say, "Hey, you're cute, I wanted to meet you," or "I had to come meet you," or whatever question is that's supposed to lead to some kind of funny conversation. And they're saying it too soft, they're saying it without getting the girl looking at them, and they're saying it without the girl's full attention, okay? Now, one of the things that's so important, you hear all the time people are talking about eye contact, right? Oh, it's important to have good eye contact. You got to have good eye contact. Well, why? The reason that it's really important to get good eye contact is because, you guys are looking at me right now. I see all of you guys. I have your full attention, except Nick in the back who's kind of dazing off. Yeah. But seriously, though, you guys are looking at me right now. I have your full attention. So the first thing that I want to do, and that you guys should be trying to do, is instead of focusing on begin a conversation with a girl, open a girl, whatever it might be, the first thing that you guys need to focus and actually go out and consciously do is get a girl's full attention. You need to get her full focus on you, okay? Does anybody have any questions about why this is different from going up and opening? Okay.
Well, I guess when you say get her full focus on you, I keep thinking of, that show I saw on MTV, The Pickup Artist, where Mystery would go up to the bar next to the lady, and he would just kind of look away and say something to her, and then just keep walking.
Yeah, see, that's my point. That's exactly what I'm talking about not doing. That's the kind of stuff that was getting Rob and I 0 girls. You know why? Because we'd walk up to a girl at a bar, we'd say something to her, we'd walk away, and then we'd be nowhere near her. And then girls would lost for forever, right? So what I'm saying is what I'm talking about, and something that I don't know if any of you are familiar with any of our infield footage, but one of the things that we hear a lot about our infield footage is that we work really fast and that we're really, really aggressive. And the fact is that I don't even see it that way. The way that I see it is that we are just doing things that are so different from what everyone else is doing right now that it's just like they don't see what we're doing, right? And what we're doing is we're coming up, we're tapping girls on the shoulder, waiting for them to turn around, locking eyes with them, and not saying anything. Not saying anything. Because the fact is that you don't want to say anything. Nothing. Not an opener about jean shorts, not anything about a pizza place, until you have this girl basically waiting to say, what do you want? Because it's that expectation. It's that that pause, that quiet, that moment that you guys share before you say anything that's going to really begin this interaction on an emotional and sexual level, and it's going to really give you the control because it's going to start the interaction off from a place where the girl's saying, what's going to happen? I'm waiting for this guy to, give me a reason why he tapped me on the shoulder or why he's staring at me like that and took me by the hand and pulled me in. Now, this is very different than walking up and trying to say something to a girl, trying to ask her a question. And the thing is that we found it doesn't matter. That jean shorts opener, phenomenal. Pizza place, great. Doesn't matter. But if you do either of those things and preface it by tapping her on the shoulder and waiting for her to lock eyes with you and just taking maybe a 2 to 3 second pause before you drop that line or before you tell her about the pizza place, and you add in a little bit of a smile, think about what this interaction is going to physically look like. I'm not talking about what to say to a girl. This is on such a different level because you're not communicating with the words, right? You're communicating on such a subliminal level. You're communicating in a primal sexual way where this girl is basically being baited into waiting to hear what's going to come out of your mouth. And you drop it with a little bit of a smile, with strong eye contact and slowly, and anything you say is going to sound sexual, whether it's about jean shorts, a pizza place. And the fact is that, if you guys have ever heard about direct openers, everything is a direct opener when you tap a girl on the shoulder and stare into her eyes, okay? You don't need to say, I think you're cute and I wanted to meet you. You can ask her favorite pizza place because you are being so direct, you're being so emotionally direct with this girl that it doesn't matter if you're talking about a pizza place or you're talking about, a pool party that you want to go to. It's going to have sexual undertones, guaranteed. Guaranteed. So then, this leaves, we haven't even talked about what to say yet, right? And already you've kind of built this sort of, this experience that's going to snowball from here. So this kind of takes us to the second piece of the puzzle, which is, emotional investment. And a lot of guys and a lot of people in this industry talk about how important it is to get girls attracted. How many guys have gone out and tried to get girls attracted before? Yeah, I did. I tried that for a long time. And you know what I realized? Girls don't want to meet a guy who's trying to get them attracted. Girls want to meet a guy who's already attracting them. Girls don't want to, you to come out of nowhere, be a fucking loser, and start giving them these really great lines that kind of make her say, wait a second, I was so wrong. This guy's not a loser. I do want to bang him. Yeah. It's that's not how this goes, okay? And the fact of the matter is what I'm talking about here does not focus on looks or money or age. I mean, I swear to God, we've had students that are, you see him walking around with the girls now, and yeah, he's too fat for her. And yeah, he's too old for her and too divorced or too, whatever. But he still has that girl. And, it's the other guys on the street that are saying he's too fat for her. It's not himself. And that's the difference, is because instead of trying to get a girl attracted, you put me out in a bar, tell me to go try to get a girl attracted, I'm going to fail miserably. Because I don't have the first idea about how to get a girl attracted who's not already attracted. What I do know how to do is create an experience that every girl wants to be a part of and ends in having sex. And that's what we're moving towards right now. But I want you guys to understand that this begins not with, opening or conversation or getting her attracted. It begins when you get her focused on you. If you can hold a girl's full focus, then, that's all it comes down to. It gives you a very, very good stage that's been set for you to then transition this relationship back to the bedroom, okay? So, like I said, the second piece, which is emotional investment. Excuse me one second. Okay, so emotional investment. Ooh, nice. So basically, what's the difference between emotional investment and getting a girl attracted, okay? Emotional investment is when a girl wants to find out more about you, when a girl's intrigued by you, when a girl likes the things that you're saying and she wants you to say more of them, when a girl enjoys your presence and, will do things like tell her friends, oh, no, I'm fine, just go to the bar without me, because she wants to be around you, because you make her feel good, okay? Now, this is a very, very simple thing to do, and a lot of the time, guys are like, a lot of our students will ask, well, what does it look like? Well, emotional investment is very, very simple. All it is when the girl starts asking you questions about yourself, right? Have you guys ever been out at a bar and had a girl say, oh, you're funny, what's your name? Has anyone ever heard that before? Yeah? Okay. That's emotional investment right there. The girl's beginning to become emotionally invested in you. Have you guys ever heard girls say, wait, so what's your name? You guys ever heard that one? Okay, emotional investment. We're not talking about like quantum physics here. This stuff is very, very simple. So, rather than just tell you, okay, so, step one, get her focused. Step two, try to get her to ask you questions. I'm going to tell you one of the most effective ways that Rob and I have to get a girl to begin emotionally investing, okay? You guys ready? Using statements. We have a technique that we call conversation bait. And I'm going to give this to you. I'm actually going to give you two strategies that we use. You guys can go out and use them tonight. Hopefully you start seeing some good results. We're all about fast results. So the first technique, conversation bait, right? Now, I want to preface this by saying this is not about cold reading. This is not about any sort of like crazy manipulation. Conversation bait is nothing more than throwing something out there that is going to force the girl to want to have a conversation, right? Saying something like, oh, you have an accent, don't you? Whether she does or doesn't, okay? If a girl has an accent, she's going to say, yeah, I'm from South Africa. And if a girl doesn't, she's going to laugh and say, why would you ask me that? Right? That's it. Questions being asked. Then you can continue, use more statements. Just keep prodding, keep drilling down, and she's going to keep asking you guys questions. So, for instance, like a good example of the conversation bait is that question, or like saying, like, you have an accent, don't you? Because the fact is what could a girl possibly say to that? Like, she's either going to say yes, no, or why would you ask me that, right? Like, I can promise you, because I've said this thousands of times, and that's the only three answers I've ever heard. Fact of the matter is that if she says, yes, I do, you have something to talk about, right? She's going to start telling you about herself. She's going to start emotionally investing. She says, no, I don't. Why would you ask me that? Well, there you have some friction, right? Might feel a little bit awkward. Well, the fact of the matter is, you guys have probably been taught to avoid that awkwardness, to avoid moments of her, maybe putting up resistance to the interaction. What we've actually found is that resistance allows you to overcome it and bring you two together and create very strong sexual emotions when you guys have a fight going between you. I actually have, I think, Matt, you were there when I was filming an infield video, and I was having this interaction with this girl. We were trying to put down a whole interaction from start to finish in one night, and I knew that there wasn't enough emotions at one point. I felt that this was kind of becoming a little bit boring, a little bit stale, so I started a fight with the girl. Just started a fight with her. I don't even remember what I said, but I just started picking at this fight. and just started picking at it until she blew up at me. Perfect. Time to use some damage control. Get it back on track. We have these emotions going again. Now, what did I do? I took her by the hand and you followed us back to my place, right? I mean, true story. So, but the fact is that none of this works if you're out there trying to get her attracted. None of this stuff works if you're out there worrying about, is this girl not going to like what I'm saying to her? Is this girl going to be offended because I'm saying, oh, like you have an accent, don't you, when she clearly is from the same town as you? So that's just one example of like a way to start getting a girl emotionally invested. The other technique that I'm going to give you is called statement roulette, okay? And what this is basically, I want you guys to each come up with like 3 or 4 short statements that aren't too serious, they're fun, right? So things like, show me your dance moves. Something like, Nick, what was yours? Like, those are some badass heels. Those heels are badass. Just 3 statements, 3 to 4 statements like that you can just throw out there, right? You don't need to be looking for a reaction. That's the thing. So much of this like pickup material is based off of looking for a reaction from the girl. When you do this, when you throw out statements, the only purpose to throw these statements out are to give her something to latch onto. Okay? She might not give a shit if you want to see her dance moves, but she might love that you brought up her shoes, right? She might have just gotten those shoes and she like can't believe that you mentioned them and she can't wait to talk to you about them. The point is that if you have 3 or 4 statements, right, that are fun and related to you guys having a good time together, you just keep throwing them out and eventually something's going to hit. Now, this is the difference, and I know that some of you might be thinking, like, okay, so like I'm just supposed to go out there and just start saying things to girls? Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. The fact of the matter is that when we went out and we started just like speaking in statements with looking for no reaction from a girl, this is when girls start saying to you, like, what? Why are you being weird? When I hear that, I hear game on. Why are you being weird? Anything that this girl is asking you to try to piece you together, to try to figure out, why is this guy here saying these things to me? Like, why is this guy not doing all the other shit that I've ever seen guys do before me or before this guy? Why isn't he trying to buy me drinks? Why isn't he trying to have a conversation with me? The fact of the matter is whether it's a question about jeans or a question about a pizza place or whatever, this is all on the pretense that you're trying to establish a conversation, right? Those are both questions. And the reason that these statements are so effective is because when you go up to a girl, right? I actually had a student the other day. He's like, so how would you feel about this? If you went up to a girl that you met on the street and say, hey, so like, where are we going? And I was like, no, that's absolutely garbage. Because the fact of the matter is you're going up to her expecting that this girl is going to see you and, like I said before, just want to jump on your dick. It's like, oh, here's a guy. Like, you know what? Actually, like, yeah, I do want to meet you. Here's my number. I'm free on Monday, and I like roses. It doesn't happen. And the fact of the matter is that by using statements, right, you are controlling the interaction. You're not asking her for anything. You're not asking her, oh, take some responsibility and help me get some sort of interaction going here. Instead, you're taking full responsibility for the interaction that you two are having because you have these statements that are fun to yourself, these statements that amuse yourself, and that show that you're there to have a good time, right? And because you're talking to this girl and she's already been focused on you, she's already looking you in the eye, she's already listening to what you're saying, she's going to be trying to piece together why the hell you're saying these things in the first place. She's going to be trying to figure out what's your name, where you're from, why you're saying this to her. Maybe you guys have met before. Maybe she's trying to place it. It doesn't matter. But the point is, you now have her on the defense. You have her on the back foot. She doesn't really understand what's going on. She doesn't know how to deal with you because she can't fit you in a box of, okay, this is the kind of guy who's going to ask to buy me drinks and cling to me all night. Or this is the kind of guy that's going to be super aggressive and try to make out with me all night. Girls are very, very conscious of this stuff. I think Nick was saying it, girls know in a very short span of time what kind of guy you are based off of how you carry yourself, how you interact with them, and what you say to them, right? If you walk up to a girl and you tap her on the shoulder, you hold strong eye contact, and then just start spewing nonsense to her that keeps yourself entertained, and you talk in statements, eventually she's going to be trying to figure something out, whether it's your name, why you're saying these things, where you come from, it doesn't matter. But that is the beginning of emotional investment. So then what happens? A couple questions get asked, and boom, it's on to the third piece, which is rapport. You guys have any questions on this? Well, why don't we save it for the end? So next thing is rapport. Now, what is rapport? I'm not talking about the rapport that you've read about in other pickup stuff. I am talking about very simple, get-to-know-you rapport. The type of rapport that you have with a new friend, the type of rapport that you might have with, a boss or, some girl that you went to school with. Very casual understanding, right? So what I mean by this is, once you see this girl and she's like, she's asking you questions, you feel that the investment is beginning, it's time to switch and it's time for you to start asking questions. That's all it means. So now it's your chance. Oh, where are you from? What's your name? What do you do? Where'd you go to school? All that boring shit that you've always been told is not good or it's too logical or whatever it is for pickup, no. That is exactly what you want to be asking. Because the fact of the matter is you're not just coming up with this stuff out of nowhere. You're now the guy who's tapped her on the shoulder. You're the guy who's held strong eye contact. You've shown that you're not trying to have any sort of weird conversation. You're just having a good time with it. And now it's time to show her who you really are. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm Zach. Nice to meet you. So what's your name? Where are you from? Oh, cool, nice. That's all it needs to be. Very, very topical, very, very casual. And then from there, as soon as you possibly can, as soon as she's comfortable with who you are and what you're about, it's time to get into the fourth piece, which is arousal. Now, before I start talking about arousal, because this is really where, I think we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about and some questions, I just want to let you guys know that everything from the focus to the rapport, this should all happen in 3 to 5 minutes at the most. You want to be getting this girl aroused and turned on as soon as humanly possible to when you first walked up and tapped her on the shoulder or you first made eye contact with her. Now, the reason is because, let's be real. Do you guys see girls with big tits and fat butts and great makeup and think legs, the whole deal? And do you wait about 3 hours in to think, damn, this girl's hot? No, it doesn't work like that. And the girls don't want to wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for you to start giving them the sexual experience that you're hoping that this is going to move towards, right? Now, it really is nothing better than just a first impression. You want to be making a sexual first impression. Otherwise, you're making a very different kind of first impression, and she's going to have a very different understanding of who you are and how you and her are going to be interacting, right? What this girl wants is not a bunch of fancy lines. She wants an experience, and she wants the feeling that being with you is going to not only be a good choice, but it's going to make her feel safe. It's going to, make her laugh. It's going to make her feel, hot, like a really attractive, woman she wants to feel and wants to make you feel. She's going to want to feel like you understand her sexuality and you can take responsibility for it and give her the sexual experiences that, she has when she goes to bed at night. So when that she thinks about in her mind before she goes to bed at night and when she wakes up in the morning, right? Same way that you guys do. You guys probably have fun little sexual fantasies that run through your head. Girls are the same way. What these girls want and what all women want is for you to be able to give them that experience without really asking much for them. So here we are onto arousal. And this is kind of where I think that a lot of the other pickup material is really lacking. The fact of the matter is what happens after you have a girl turned on, right? Does it have is it a bunch of lines and gimmicks? No. It's actually very simple. It's time to crank up the emotion and time to start letting her know that, like I said, you see her as this woman who has sexual fantasies and sexual desires, and you're not only comfortable with that, but you're in touch with that. So I'm going to give you guys, I'll give you one little strategy to do this because this is just so money. You guys can take this out and, hopefully you guys use this tonight. You can come back tomorrow and I want to hear some awesome stories about this, all right? This is a strategy that we realized that we were doing after we watched like a bunch of videos of ourselves. And we call this explicit restraint. And what explicit restraint is basically you're going to say like what it is that you want to do to this girl, right? Whether it's like something really, really graphic, like, throwing her up against the wall and ripping her clothes off, or even if it's something, kind of innocent, like, trying to make out with her, trying to kiss her, right? You're going to say something that you want to do to this girl, but then you're going to give her a reason why you're not going to do it right then, okay? So, for instance, here's one that we used on program a couple weeks ago. We had a student, and we were at the bar, and there was this girl. She was stunning, and she was there with her mom and her dad and her brothers, and it was just such a loaded situation, And the fact was, this girl was just too hot not to approach. Do you guys know those girls? The ones that like they walk in, you're like, oh, this girl's just too hot not to approach. It doesn't matter that her mom's there, her dad's there, or whatever. So I told the student, I was like, look, dude, like, I know what I would do if I were you. I'd approach her. So he was like, yeah, but like, what do I say? I was like, you know what? Like, you only have one shot at this. You might as well just swing for the fences. So I told him, I was like, go up to this girl. Tell this girl, if her parents weren't watching her like a hawk, you'd be trying to make out with her shamelessly right now. And what happened? He walked up to her. He like kind of pulled her aside, whispered that in her ear. And, me and Rob were like hanging in the background, like waiting to see like, oh man, is this going to blow up or is this going to go great? And all of a sudden the girl, like I saw like the wheels turning. And all of a sudden this huge grin spread over this girl's face. Huge grin. She started laughing. And the fact of the matter was her parents were watching her like a hawk, and her parents saw what was going on. They grabbed her and whisked her away, and they all left the bar. Fact of the matter is, how good is that? When you are getting a girl turned on to the point where her parents have to remove her from the situation, and that's what I'm saying, is like, you want to be, and like I want to give you like a little, just to like give you a peek into why this works so well. The reason that this idea of explicit restraint works so well is not because you're being vulgar or because, you're stating your sexual intentions. It's because you're planting the idea in her head and making her feel comfortable with the fact that you're not about to just jump on it, right? So many guys that study this dating advice and pick up stuff, so many guys are so caught up in the idea of needing this girl and needing to get the sex that, it's just so obvious. And I can say that because I was one of those guys. I felt like, like you can't get a phone number because that's no good. You got to like get her home with you, otherwise it doesn't count, right? And if you guys ever thought anything like that, or something like, oh, like I got to get the phone number, I got to close, or anything like that, right? It's all focused on needing that outcome too bad to the point where you're not able to give this girl the experience that she wants, because you're too focused on something else, something that really doesn't matter. This outcome doesn't matter. What matters is giving these girls this experience and bringing them to getting aroused and putting these ideas in their head that if you get a second alone with them, you're going to be ripping their clothes off and throwing them up against a wall. And the fact of the matter is that because you're telling her, you're basically giving her a reason why you're not going to do it right now, if that girl hangs around you any longer, she knows what's going down. And to be honest, if you don't follow through on it, you're just being rude, because that's what she wants. You've told her what you're going to give her, and she's made the conscious decision to still hang around you. So that is not the time to backstep and start talking and have conversations. No, that's the time to take her by the hand, walk her into a corner, and make out with her. And then from there, make sure you have the phone number. If you want to take her home, tell her about the awesome margaritas that you're going to make at your place. Tell her about the really sweet balcony you have at your place. Tell her about, some video that you saw on YouTube that you have to show her. And, get her home. But the fact of the matter is like, this is a very, very succinct way to go out and get consistent results. Now, the fact of the matter is this, flashy? No, not at all. But, how many guys came here to learn how to be flashy? Okay. How many guys came here to learn how to take girls home and bang them? And that's the fact. Like, you know, I hate to be vulgar, but it's true though. Like, this is like, you want to know a very simple way to go out and get consistent results, get a girl focused on you, speak in statements and get her emotionally investing in you, build some very general topical rapport, and then start getting her aroused. Start planting the idea that you and her are somehow playing out one of her sexual fantasies, and let that live in her head. You don't need to do any work. You plant that idea in her head, that's when she starts doing the work. That's when you guys get what you really want, which is, oh, like, this guy's hot, I want to hook up with him. Instead of feeling like you have some girl that you're just kind of like trying to steamroll back into bed with you, or some girl that you're taking by the hand and you just have to drag her or have like the right line to say next. What if the right line really didn't matter, because the fact of the matter was this girl's already decided she wants to hook up with you? That's the game that I'm trying to play. That's the game that wins every time, because the fact of the matter is you just don't have to work that hard. So I guess that's pretty much everything that I had for you guys that I wanted to say. And you know, if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, you know, take that stuff and give it a shot. Let me know how it goes tomorrow. I'll be here all weekend.
I just have one question, kind of silly, but like the one step you were talking about where you walk up to a girl and you make that eye contact, you stare at her, you don't say anything. It's, you know, isn't there a possibility that could like creep the girl out and you think you're a psycho or something?
Okay, well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that, sure, it could. But the fact is that, are you a psycho? Are you gonna kill her? Well, and that's the fact, is like, if you have those intentions in your head, then yeah, you're gonna be creepy. But if what you have in your head is, oh man, like the second this girl gives me a chance, I'm gonna start turning her on, how's that? That's not creepy, that's what she showed up to the bar for. That's why she's wearing a mini skirt and high heels and put on all that makeup and took an hour and a half to get ready. That's why she changed her shirt 5 times and she went out wearing a thong, because she's looking to get creeped on. You know, but what she wants is a guy who's going to do it in a way that gives her the experience that she wants, right? Gives her the experience that she got dressed up and went out looking for. The guy that can make her feel like, yeah, like a little bit awkward and shaken up and on the defense, but also knows that, you know, she's a sexual being, that she's out because she's looking to hook up and have fun. You know, and that's the difference. The difference is are you going to, when you tap her and you hold eye contact, are you going to just keep tap? Are you just going to keep staring? Or are you going to then start throwing out those statements that are fun and self-entertaining, like, oh, show me your dance moves. Or, you know, like, let's get a drink. You know, any of those things are perfect things to say. You tap a girl and say, let's get a drink. What's she going to say? Who are you? Perfect. That's emotionally investing in you. What's your name? She's asking you what your name is simply because you led off with a strong statement. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, if you just do that, yes, that is creepy, but that's why you got to keep it moving forward from there.
Just for clarification, this is mostly for like bar game and things like that, right? Or do you see this being applied in more like daytime?
Well, I mean, this stuff definitely applies in the daytime, like 100%. The only thing is that, you know, I'm from New York, and Rob and I have a pretty deep history running day game, and we found that the things that work in day game tend to be a bit different. Yeah, you have to have her focused. Yeah, you need to, you know, get her emotional and build some brief rapport and get her aroused. But the thing is that the day gives such a different context to it that, like, while you're still doing all those things, it doesn't look like, you know, we've been discussing here. Like, yeah, it's a good question. What we've been talking about, bar party environment. Like, you're not going to walk up to a girl and tap her on the street. I know for a fact that that's not the best way to do it. I found out. You know?
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, no, we have a very different approach to day game, but it definitely encompasses all of these things. But yeah, that's a good point. What we're talking about here is strictly for parties, bars. You know, if you have, let's say you get a girl and you're texting back and forth with her, you can definitely use this stuff via text. It's not something that you want to use in a day game situation, which is way, way, way more casual. It has to be way more understated. You can't be as explicit with girls because the fact is that it just comes off a bit creepy. Getting too sexual in the day is just too creepy. You just want to get the number, get out, set up a date, and then pick up with being creepy. Any other questions? All right. So in that case, I hope that you guys go out and give some of this stuff a try. Like, I understand maybe this is not something that you guys have done before. Maybe it's you've tried some of these things before and you haven't gotten consistent results. I want you to take some time, if you guys aren't doing coaching tonight or whatever, take some time to read over what I gave you and go out and try to execute that plan. Get a girl focused on you. Once you see that she's focused, start throwing out some conversation bait or some, couple statements. Once you have her asking you questions about yourself, switch gears, ask her a few questions, tell her a little bit about yourself, and then as soon as you can, try throwing out the explicit restraint. Move to the arousal strategies. See what happens. So I hope that gives you guys a bit of an understanding about what it is that Rob and I do and how we found a pretty consistent way to be able to almost put it on autopilot when the girl's standing there in front of you. So thanks for having me, and have fun.